Hello, everyone. Today, I'm very excited about our next interview from the ToolSense interview series Workshop Talks. I'm Jennifer, and I'm responsible for the communication at ToolSense. Our guest today is Jacob Holmes, General Manager at Pudak Scientific Group. And then, of course, I would like to introduce Julia Kota, Customer Success Manager at ToolSense. Mr. Holmes, perhaps you could tell us a few sentences about yourself and Pudak Scientific Group. Where are you based? How many employees do you have? And what solutions do you provide?
Sure. So Pudak Scientific, we're based in a city called Bandung, about 150 kilometers east from Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. So we're actually a detailed components manufacturer for the aerospace industry, and we basically focus on machined components. We have about 800 active part numbers at the moment, and we produce about 40,000 pieces on average per month across our workforce of about 341 employees. So we're not a small team, quite a big team. We deal mainly in what's called low volume, high variation. So a lot of the components we handle on a day-to-day basis differ. And therefore, in our manufacturing, we have a lot of variation, and ultimately that puts a lot of variation on our machines as well.
Wow, really interesting working field. Thank you very much. Then we already come to our first question. Mr. Holmes, how did you first get in touch with ToolSense?
Yeah. So I have found myself through my career doing a lot of digital enablement. Digital enablement industry 4.0 is a big topic, obviously, in the manufacturing industry. And a number of previous companies I worked at as a digital enablement focal. However, I heard of ToolSense through a reference of mine who he deep dived very detailed on the right management tool for their maintenance team in the company he worked for. And they tried a few solutions, and ultimately he recommended not to waste my time with any of the other solutions and proceed with ToolSense. And so I took his expertise and reached out to ToolSense, and the team basically was really accommodating, and we jumped right in. So
Cool. We're really glad to hear this. And how did you work on asset management and safety checks prior to ToolSense, and what were the challenges?
Yeah. So we're very much at the early stages of our digital development. And previously, most of our asset management was done via the good old trustful Excel file, right? The one file that everyone shares. And additionally, all our safety checks and machine checks, maintenance checks were all done by hard copy forms. This basically posed quite an issue when we wanted to see reoccurring themes or look back through our records. If it wasn't in the Excel file, then we were combing through hundreds, if not thousands, of paper files to be able to find what was happening. So it was very manual way of traditional way of doing things, binders, filing cabinets, and that trusty old Excel file that everyone sends around. So.
And I think you already answered partly my next question, but why did you decide for a partnership with ToolSense? And yeah, where do you see the value that ToolSense brings?
Yeah. So again, probably on the previous question, you came highly recommended by a trustful colleague of mine, and the team then internally reviewed, I guess, the offering that ToolSense had. They did a demo, and we really saw an opportunity in, of course, the paperless avenue and the simplification of the solution. But the main thing that we really liked about ToolSense was the ease of integratability into production. You know, the QR codes really made it easy for us to give our operators access to the ToolSense tool without having to go through extensive training or have access to additional devices or any heavy software. They can just pull out their phone, basically scan and do their daily checks or report any issues. So for us, that was really the the real, I guess, seal for us on the deal was that, compared to your competition, the ease of being able to integrate it into our existing operations was a very easy barrier to overcome. So.
Thank you. And maybe now taking a look more to the future, what is your vision for the partnership with ToolSense?
Yeah, so for us, we want to continue on our digital transformation and our Industry 4.0. So what we would really like to get to is an ability to integrate our machine monitoring into the ToolSense platform, so we can be a bit more proactive with the actions that are happening on a maintenance side, as well as being able to be a lot more responsive on ticketing. Additionally, being able to now track costs of maintenance across the machine's lifetime is going to be beneficial to us. We do have some aging machines and we do have some new machines, and being able to see actually what the real cost is per machine, to understand if potentially some of them are a dead weight, or what the reoccurring theme is a level of visibility and detail we haven't had before. So on the two sides, the business side and then that Industry 4.0, being able to be a lot more proactive and have our maintenance team be a lot more responsive, coming, with the monitoring of actually the machine data. So
cool. That sounds really promising. And what are the situations in which ToolSense can help you in your operations? Maybe you have some real-life examples for us.
Yeah, so there's probably a few. So I guess I'll answer first and then I'll give you an example. But for us, really, the fastness of being able to respond to machine breakdowns. Previously, everything was done via email or via a WhatsApp chat. Now, when a machine breakdown happens, the operator can immediately record it and maintenance has it, right? So it's allowed us to be a lot more responsive. And ultimately that reduces downtime, where for us is critical. Additionally, probably where the example will come in is we have set up our daily machine checks. So our operators, when they come in, they check their machines. We get really clear visibility on the machine's condition currently. And actually that allows us to action things prior to the machine running that maybe the operators aren't aware of, meaning, like our coolant levels. Previously, we had a lot of coolant spills because the coolant level was too high, and we have a top-up. We top up the coolant consistently to maintain the right parameters, but sometimes it can overflow, or vice versa, not enough coolant. And basically, so we have seen, a reduction in coolant spillage. Now, it may seem like a trivial thing, but coolant's actually very expensive. It's really expensive. So that ultimately results in a cost saving for us. Additionally, we are seeing benefits on an administrative side, where we would normally have to have administrative staff to compile all these reports and document. We're basically able to utilize those staff for more proactive tasks in other teams, rather than being dedicated to the administrative tasks of maintaining the Excel file. So,
Great. Really happy to hear those. And Mr. Holmes, where do you see the status quo of digitalization in the aerospace industry? And what do you think will change within the next years, maybe?
Yeah. So when people think the aerospace industry, they often think, at the forefront of technology. And often they're not wrong when it comes to the aircraft. But when it comes to the manufacturing methods and stuff, aerospace is typically change adverse. We don't want any real change because that can put unpredictability in the production system. However, with the current cost issues the whole industry is experiencing, businesses are being forced to digitalize, where it's the best way to gain efficiency and ultimately cost reductions. So I think over the next 10 years, we will see a lot of traditional small to medium-sized enterprises starting to head to an Industry 4.0 to be more competitive to support our customers, right? Even for us, it got to a point where it's kind of imperative in a country that's quite relatively, or one of the lowest cost countries now globally, for average wage, we even still see the impact of not digitalizing faster. So even for us, it becomes an issue and a competitive structure. So I think it's going to start to gain a lot of momentum. And previously, where maybe Asian countries were not, or Southeast Asian countries were not seen to be an area of development in this space, I think you'll start to see that change. Europe and the US have already quite developed with the digitalization, but a lot of the aerospace industry is moving to Asia, and with that, a lot more, I guess, proactive development and implementation of new production systems incorporates digitalization now.
Really good points. And maybe now directing the question to Julia, would you like to add anything here?
Maybe one point I would like to highlight, because Jacob and the team had a really, really high level of checks completed on a daily basis. So Jacob, if you can share some insights or advices for companies like you who really need to do this amount of checks and manage this amount of volume, how can ToolSense come in handy for that? What has been super helpful in that?
Yeah, you're correct, Julia, because we have 3 shifts running, and we get the operators to check the status of the machine consistently because we deal with such a high variation of work. Conditions can change very quickly, and so basically it is a very high volume of I guess ticketing, and it's the ease of implementation. Again, it's there's no portal to sign into for us. There's no they don't need a tablet per se or a computer at the machine. They can just come in with their mobile device, scan the barcode, and submit the daily check. And if there is a breakdown, they just scan the barcode and submit the daily check. Additionally, for those businesses that are maybe a bit price sensitive and worried about the increased cost of adding users, and therefore hesitant to incorporate their whole business in, ToolSense really offers a solution to that. We obviously, for the barcodes, it's no cost. Only the users that are really using the system, our maintenance team, need to be in there and need to be, obviously a paid licenses. So cost competitively, really, it's quite appealing for a company of our size that maybe doesn't have huge budgets, because although we have a lot of employees, we are in a low-cost country. So we're always competing with the cost of manpower. But now we're able to basically bring 250 shop floor operators into a maintenance software without having to pay for 250 licenses. So for us, it's that balance of the ability to integrate those production workers in at no additional cost has, really been what's helped to make this solution viable. So I guess, the appeal, I guess, for companies that are having the same kind of justification, ToolSense really takes the nonsense out of it and says, okay, these people are actually using the tool. That's who you pay for. These people are just third parties to utilize, and it really makes it simple.
We like simple. Yes, thank you so much. We already reached the end. Thank you for this exciting exchange. We were very pleased that you, Mr. Holmes, were here today. And perhaps we will hear from each other again very soon.